what new product could possibly turn the auto industry around and get it back on the road to recovery. After all the recent doom and gloom coming from automakers, finally there is upbeat news to report. A new product from GM is creating some buzz at this week's New York Auto Show.
But will their latest green concepts mean more green for the company? Chris Markowski joins us to talk about the not-so-fast but oh-so-furious state of the American auto industry. Hey, Chris.
How are you?
What do you think of this GM and the new Segway?
The rickshaw. We gotta get the guy out in front. I told you this is last fall. We were cracking jokes here on this very seat saying I didn't want to drive around in a 2012 Pelosi, and now we have one. I mean, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, I said yesterday we talked about this, and you know there is a form of two-wheeled transportation that we have that gets you around quickly and economically, but doesn't make you look like a dork. It's called a motorcycle.
Or a bicycle.
Or a bike. And
Yes.
yeah, it's. Not only that, they were actually thinking about making this car, I guess, work on GPS where you don't have to drive it. It drives itself. And I'm sure most people have gotten in, you've been in a car when you've had to avoid collisions when somebody's getting in your way. I mean, would you feel safe having a car drive itself and you not having control of it on the roads, especially in New York? Not to mention the fact, the road rage that would take place in New York, because you could just jump out of that thing. So
not unless I were a character in Back to the Future 4 would I feel comfortable with that.
We're going to go live to the big New York Auto Show coming up in the next hour, but what do you think the vibe is there this week, Chris?
I think that they're trying to push this thing, but I think a lot of eyes are on some of the neater cars. Mercedes-Benz got some really neat technologies. You know, when you hit the side of the road and it bumps, they put those things in the road.
Yeah.
They have a technology now with the new Mercedes where you start shifting out of your lanes without putting your blinker on. Your steering wheel starts vibrating. The new Camaro is absolutely cool.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I mean, the V8 gets 26 miles to the gallon. It's got over 400 horsepower. It's a really nice looking car. You're obviously trying to highlight these types of vehicles, but there's that cloud over the auto show's head. Who's going to be around, or which cars are going to go about being made? It's kind of like these auto shows. Don't they kind of remind you like a lot of the fashion runway shows? You know, a lot of these cars, they never get made. It's like, who's going to wear those clothes that are walking down the things?
Cars that are super cool.
Yeah, but they never end up making them.
Now, as far as, I think a lot of people thought that we wouldn't actually see GM go into bankruptcy, but now there's talk that we are going to see a bankruptcy?
Yeah, it's a new magical bankruptcy. It's called pre-packaged bankruptcy. That's where all the politicians and the players involved decide what's going to happen outside of a bankruptcy judge. Bankruptcy judges basically decide what happens when it gets thrown into Chapter 11. The government is not going to let this happen. They want to have their stake in it. You know, it's going to be very difficult. You got players like the unions, you get politics, you got suppliers, you got all this stuff involved. All the chips are going to be basically laid out before it does enter bankruptcy.
Pre-packaged bankruptcy. So it's sort of like the Swanson TV dinners of bankruptcy. You stick a lot of gravy on there.
I wonder if you get a free set of steak knives too when you qualify for the pre-packaged
or a rickshaw, rickshaw, whatever.
But I thought the whole reason why we traded out the CEOs is because they wanted to avoid bankruptcy, and now bankruptcy is back on the table again.
No, they didn't do that. Rick Wagner was very much against going into bankruptcy. I last fall thought they should have gone into it and thrown it into and let the bankruptcy judge, because you also got a company that's now probably close to about $65–70 billion in debt. Think about the amount of $30,000 automobiles at 100% profit you have to sell to get out of that. You have to do a debt for equity swap. You have to start over. You have to hit a reset button. And that's what bankruptcy is. Fritz, he's kind of going along with what the government's telling him.
Still plenty more to come right after this. TLC's Take Home Chef is going to show you how you can get the entire family involved in whipping up your Easter meal. And that guy right there,
Chris Markowski. Oh, there he is. I didn't know he was on camera already. Hey, buddy, we're going to be talking to you about the Segway and how it plays into GM's hopes for survival. Documents just released from the Federal Reserve reveal a gloomier financial outlook compared to the partly sunny news it was forecasting earlier this year. Now, here to make sense of all that gibberish is the watchdog on Wall Street, Mr. Chris Markowski. All right, so what are they saying by that?
Well, let me try to put this in the best perspective that I can. Yesterday, my kids spring break as well. So we decided to come out here and we go to Universal Studios for the day. I saw something for the first time I've never seen before. A 180-minute wait to get on the Hulk ride. 180 minutes. 180 minutes. That's how packed Universal Studios was yesterday. Now, we're constantly being told that, the sky's going to open up and everything's going to fall, we're all going to fall apart, and things are god-awful all the time. It's just not the case. Towards the end of the year, we're going to slowly but surely come out of this. The Fed is being very, very cautious in predicting things going forward. They don't want to...
I feel like they need to be.
Yeah, they don't want to put expectations too high, but we're slowly but surely seeing signs of things getting better. Durable goods numbers, consumer spending. Slowly but surely we'll work our way out of this thing. It's not going to happen overnight. It took us a while to get us in a situation, the predicament we're in with all the consumer debt and all the problems. It's going to take us a while to get out.
All right, now you talked about signals, and we're getting some mixed signals from the home buying and, that whole field, the mortgages and so forth. And one of the things is you're seeing some good news, but then we just heard about this merger of Centex and Pulte Homes, Pulte buying Centex. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does that show that it's like these bargain basement prices, or is it good that you're seeing that kind of activity?
Well, you're going to see this happen. This happens a lot during recessionary periods. Some of the weaker players are going to try to get themselves bought, get themselves taken out. You saw this recently, the dance between Sun Microsystems and IBM as well. This is what happens. We saw Circuit City. Well, there was a consideration them maybe being bought. You know what? They're just going to let it go bankrupt. It's a cleansing process. This is what recessions are. It's like a lymphatic system like we have in our human body. It gets out all of the junk, and if there's something worth saving, well, then maybe someone else will buy it.
Okay. Now, and I wonder, too, we talk a lot about struggling homeowners and the help that the government might provide them, and that all sounds good, but are there some unintended consequences with that?
I got 3 calls this past week, people that their salaries have dropped over the past year because of the recession, commission-based businesses. They've qualified for Barack Obama's housing plan, and they're going to be getting refis on their home at 2%. Now, I just did a refi, and I didn't get 2%. So there's going to be some... I guess maybe you want to call it, it's not fraud. They're following the law. They're doing what needs to be done. But you know what?
But it's a further burden on the taxpayer.
Absolutely. We, the taxpayers, are actually paying for people to get these 2% mortgages. Now they're doing this cash for clunker thing they're talking about. I'd rather do the cash for broken houses. Either that or invest in bulldozers and wrecking balls and knock down some of this excess inventory, because that's causing the problem.
Thank you, Chris.
We've been joined by our money guy, Chris Markowski, all morning long, and we've been talking about this story out of Tennessee where the legislature there considering a bill that would cap lottery winnings for $600 for anyone living off of government assistance. And you people have been fired up about this. And Chris, you have some pretty strong opinions when it comes to the lottery.
Well, you dare let me weigh in on this topic?
You've been encouraged to.
I've been unleashed. All right, I promise I'll be good here.
Okay.
I used to bartend wait tables to pay my way through college. And one of the rules was you weren't allowed to serve known alcoholics or drunks. When I see somebody buying a lottery ticket, quite honestly, I feel pity on that person, because here you go, you're just throwing money away. If someone is in need of financial assistance, someone needs government help, which is okay. I'm all for safety nets and backstops. That's what makes this country wonderful. Shouldn't it be, almost, the libertarian in me is saying, you know what, you're not supposed to, to help people out, people supposed to be left to their own wares, but to go out there and be spending money on lottery tickets when that money should be spent elsewhere is just a horrible, horrible idea. And I know that people are saying stuff in regards to, oh, it helps out the schools. Well, if you want to help out the schools, write the school a check.
There you go.
More of the money's going to go to the school.
Well, we got an email from John, Erie, Pennsylvania. He says, welfare is a good program when it's used right. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen often. How much money was stolen from people to free Iraq? Billions of dollars. So I don't mind supporting the poorest people in our country in a time of need. A society is only as good as it treats its poor, but people who collect welfare for their entire life is another story.
Yeah, it's a problem that you don't want to, we've had welfare reform. It happened under the Clinton administration, and they had the Republican Congress and Bill Clinton, and they pushed forward a lot of welfare reform, and it's helped. The idea and the goal is to get people off welfare, to get them to, for lack of a better cliche, teach that person how to fish, and I think that's what we really need to be focusing on.
So I won't be buying you any lotto tickets for Christmas.
Here you go. Here's nothing.
All right, if you want to chat with Chris Markowski, he's been in our chat room all morning long, dailybuzznow.com. Also, if you want to find out more info on his radio show, just click on the guest tab. While you're there, we're back in just a moment.